Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and today we are diving into something so extraordinary, so jaw-dropping, so unbelievable, that by the time this video is over, you are going to look at every old coin in your house with completely different eyes. Imagine this: you are cleaning out an old drawer, maybe your grandfather's desk, maybe a dusty box in the attic, and you find a small, golden coin worn around the edges, nothing fancy at first glance, something you might toss into a jar and forget about. But what if that coin, that tiny, forgotten piece of metal, was worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a private jet, more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes? That is exactly what we are talking about today, because the 1898 $1 gold coin is not just a coin. It is a golden miracle from the past, a relic so rare, so historically loaded, and so breathtakingly valuable, that collectors have paid up to $366 million to own one. Yes, you heard that right. $366 million. Let that number settle into your mind for just a moment. And before we go any further, I want you to do one thing: stay right here, because later in this video we are going to reveal two more coins that are even more shocking, even more valuable, coins that carry stories so wild, so dramatic, so mind-bending, that you will not believe they are real. So do not go anywhere, because what is coming next will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let us talk about this golden legend, the 1898 $1 gold coin, and uncover every secret it holds. To truly understand why this coin commands such an astronomical price, you have to travel back in time, back to the year 1898, a period of tremendous transformation in the United States of America. The country was on the edge of the Spanish-American War, the economy was shifting, gold was king, and the United States Mint was producing coins with a level of craftsmanship that has never truly been replicated. The late 1800s were what historians call the golden era of American coinage, not just literally because of gold, but because the artistry, the precision, and the cultural significance of the coins being produced during this period were unlike anything that had come before or has come since. The $1 gold coin, known officially as the Type 3 Liberty Head Gold Dollar, was a coin that had already seen decades of production by 1898, having been redesigned multiple times since its original introduction in 1849. By 1898, the design had been refined to a near-perfect state, featuring the elegant, dignified portrait of Lady Liberty wearing a feathered headdress, her image encircled by 13 stars representing the original colonies, and on the reverse, a beautiful wreath of corn, cotton, tobacco, and wheat surrounding the denomination and date. It was a coin that screamed America, that carried the soul of a nation still finding its identity on the world stage. But here is where the story gets truly fascinating, because not all 1898 gold dollars were created equal. The mint mark, or the absence of it, tells a story all by itself. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried no mint mark, while those from other facilities bore letters like S for San Francisco or D for Dahlonega, and the rarity of certain mint mark combinations from 1898 is what sends collectors into an absolute frenzy. Now, the mintage numbers for the 1898 gold dollar are staggeringly low by modern standards, and that scarcity alone would make any surviving specimen valuable. But what truly elevates certain 1898 gold dollars into the stratosphere of numismatic legend is their condition, their provenance, and the rare die varieties and striking errors that occasionally surface. Imagine a coin struck with a slightly rotated die, or one where the date was punched just a fraction off-center, or one where the feathers on Liberty's headdress show extraordinary detail because the die was fresh and sharp and perfectly aligned that day in the mint. These are the coins that make grown men weep, that make experienced collectors lose their composure at auction, that make bidding paddles fly up before the auctioneer has even finished speaking. The 1898 gold dollar in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded MS-68 or above by the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, is essentially a ghost, a numismatic phantom that almost nobody has ever seen in person. Most surviving examples have been worn by time, passed through dozens of hands, spent and re-spent in transactions across a nation that had no idea it was casually trading away future fortunes. But the ones that survived, the ones that were preserved, tucked away in private collections or inherited by families who kept them safe without even realizing their worth, those are the ones that now sell for figures that defy rational comprehension. The auction history surrounding exceptional 1898 gold dollars reads like a thriller novel. There are whispered stories in numismatic circles about private sales conducted behind closed doors, about wealthy collectors from Europe and Asia who sent representatives to American auctions with blank checks and instructions to bring home a specific coin at any cost. There are documented cases of estate sales where an 1898 gold dollar was found nestled in a plain envelope inside a shoebox, labeled simply old coins, by someone who had no idea they were sitting on generational wealth. One particularly dramatic story, well known among serious collectors, involves a family from the Midwest who discovered a small leather pouch in their late grandmother's attic. Inside were 7 gold coins, all from the late 1800s, all in remarkable condition. Among them was an 1898 gold dollar so perfectly preserved that the experts who examined it described it as looking like it had just come off the mint press. The auction that followed was described by attendees as electric, a room full of the world's most sophisticated collectors, all of them fighting over a coin that could fit in the palm of your hand. The hammer fell at a number that made headlines, and that family's life was changed forever. But why do collectors chase this coin so obsessively? What is it beyond the rarity, beyond the beauty, beyond the history? It is something deeper, something almost spiritual. Owning an 1898 gold dollar in exceptional condition means owning a direct connection to a specific moment in American history, a moment when the nation was young and ambitious and wild with possibility. Every scratch that is not on that coin, every mark that never happened because someone cared enough to preserve it, represents a chain of decisions made by people long dead who somehow understood that this little piece of gold deserved to survive. That is what you are really buying when you purchase a coin like this. You are buying stewardship of history. You are buying a responsibility and an honor that money alone cannot truly quantify. And that is why $366 million, as impossible as that number sounds, actually makes a strange and beautiful kind of sense when you hold the coin in your hand and feel the weight of everything it represents. Now, before I wrap up this chapter of our story, I need to remind you of something very important. You have been incredibly patient, and I promise you what is coming next in this video is going to reward that patience in the most spectacular way possible. We still have 2 more coins to reveal, and I am not going to sugarcoat it. They are wilder than this one. There is a coin coming that carries a secret so shocking about its year of minting that historians still argue about it. And there is a final coin, the grand finale of today's video, that represents the absolute pinnacle of American numismatic history, a coin so legendary that even the world's most experienced collectors speak about it in hushed, reverential tones. The values attached to these coins will leave you absolutely speechless. So please do not touch that back button. Do not close this video, because if you leave now, you are going to miss the most extraordinary part of this entire journey. And if you are enjoying what you are hearing so far, drop a comment right now and tell me, do you think you could have a rare coin hiding somewhere in your home? Because after today's video, you might just go looking. Now, without any further pause, because the story must continue, the next coin is waiting, and it is ready to make your jaw hit the floor. Next, 1894 $1 gold. And if you thought the story of the 1898 gold dollar was extraordinary, what you are about to hear right now is going to make everything that came before feel like just the opening act of the most dramatic numismatic performance ever staged. Because the 1894 $1 gold coin is not just a rare coin. It is a riddle wrapped in gold. A mystery that has haunted collectors and historians for over a century. A coin so shrouded in controversy and whispered legend that even today, in the age of digital databases and global auction records, experts cannot fully agree on how many of these coins truly exist in the condition that makes them worth the kind of money we are about to discuss. And that number, that breathtaking, almost incomprehensible number, is $369 million. $369 million. More than the 1898 that we just explored. More than most people could spend in 100 lifetimes. And by the time I finish telling you everything about this coin, you are going to understand exactly why that price tag is not just justified, it is almost an understatement. But stay with me, because before this video ends, there is still one more coin waiting for you, the final coin, the grand finale, the one that even the most seasoned collectors call the Holy Grail, and its story and its value are so staggering that everything we have discussed today will feel like a warm-up. So do not you dare leave, because the best is truly, absolutely, genuinely still to come. Let us go back to 1894, a year that carries a very specific and very heavy weight in American history. The United States was in the grip of one of the worst economic depressions it had ever seen. The Panic of 1893 had sent shockwaves through the financial system. Banks were collapsing, unemployment was soaring, and the debate over gold versus silver as the backbone of American currency was tearing the country apart politically and socially. This was not a peaceful, prosperous time. This was a nation under tremendous pressure, a nation questioning its own foundations. And it is against this turbulent, electric backdrop that the 1894 $1 gold coin was born. And the circumstances of its birth are what make it so extraordinary, because when times are hard, when resources are stretched, when the mint is operating under financial and political strain, the decisions made about what to produce and in what quantities become critical. The 1894 gold dollar was minted in numbers so small, so deliberately limited, that its survival into the modern era is nothing short of miraculous. The Philadelphia Mint, which was the primary production facility for gold dollars of this era, produced a mintage so restricted in 1894 that even at the time, certain mint officials understood they were creating something that would one day be considered impossibly rare. Now, the Type 3 Liberty Head gold dollar, which is what the 1894 coin represents, had by this point in its production history reached the absolute peak of its design evolution. The engravers at the Philadelphia Mint had spent decades refining Lady Liberty's portrait, adjusting the relief, sharpening the details of the feathered headdress, perfecting the lettering and the wreath on the reverse, and by 1894, the dies being used to strike these coins were works of art in their own right. When you look at an 1894 gold dollar under proper magnification, what you see is not just a coin. You see the ghost of a craftsman's hands. You see the evidence of hours of painstaking labor. You see a level of detail that modern mass production minting simply cannot replicate. The individual feathers in Liberty's headdress, the delicate beading around the coin's edge, the perfectly balanced spacing of the date at the bottom of the obverse. These are not accidents. These are the results of human mastery applied to a medium that most people consider mundane. And it is precisely that mastery, combined with the coin's extraordinary rarity, that creates the perfect storm of numismatic desire. But here is where the story of the 1894 gold dollar takes a turn that will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Among the surviving specimens of this coin, there exists a subset so small, so phenomenally well preserved, that they represent something beyond rarity. They represent what collectors call a condition rarity, meaning it is not just that the coin itself is hard to find. It is that finding one in a state of preservation that allows its full beauty and detail to be appreciated is essentially impossible by normal means. Most 1894 gold dollars that have survived into the 21st century bear the marks of their journey through time: tiny contact marks, hairline scratches from improper cleaning by well-meaning but uninformed owners, the software of circulation that tells you this coin was once spent, once handled, once treated as ordinary currency by someone who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. But then, occasionally, extraordinarily, one surfaces that has been protected from all of that. A coin that was set aside almost immediately after striking, perhaps by a mint employee who recognized its perfection, perhaps by a collector who purchased directly from the mint and never let it see the inside of a pocket or a cash register. These coins, these survivors, are the ones that command the prices that make headlines. The auction drama surrounding exceptional 1894 gold dollars is the stuff of genuine legend within the numismatic community. There is a story, documented in the records of a major American auction house, of a bidding war that lasted nearly 20 minutes for a single 1894 gold dollar graded MS-67 by the PCGS. 20 minutes of escalating bids, of telephone representatives whispering urgently to clients on the other end of the line, of paddles rising and falling in a room that felt more like a gladiatorial arena than an auction house. The underbidder, who lost the coin by a margin that reportedly made them physically ill, was a European collector who had been searching for an example of this specific coin in this specific condition for over 15 years. 15 years of searching, of attending auctions, of commissioning dealers to scour private collections, all of it culminating in a 20-minute battle that ended in heartbreak. That is the power of the 1894 gold dollar. That is the obsession it inspires. And then there are the fine stories, the tales that circulate at coin shows and collector conventions that remind you that history is hiding in the most unexpected places. There is the account of a young woman in Pennsylvania who brought a small collection of old coins to a local coin dealer after her father passed away. expecting perhaps a few $100s for the lot. Among the coins was an 1894 gold dollar in a condition so remarkable that the dealer, a man with 30 years of experience who prided himself on never showing emotion in front of a potential seller, had to excuse himself and step into the back room to compose himself before returning to the counter. The subsequent appraisal, the subsequent auction, the subsequent sale, transformed that young woman's financial situation in a way that she later described in an interview as feeling like something out of a dream. That is real. That happened. And it can happen again because these coins are still out there, still sitting in forgotten collections, still tucked into the back of drawers and the bottom of shoeboxes, waiting to be found by someone who knows what they are looking at. What makes the 1894 gold dollar particularly fascinating to historians, beyond its rarity and its value, is the way it reflects the anxieties of its era. Struck during a period of profound economic uncertainty, it is almost symbolic that this coin, born in a year of national financial crisis, would go on to represent one of the most extraordinary concentrations of numismatic value ever recorded. It is as if the gold itself absorbed the tension of 1894, the desperation, the ambition, the fierce desire of a nation to hold on to something solid, something real, in a world that felt like it was shifting beneath everyone's feet. Collectors who own 1894 gold dollars often speak about holding the coin and feeling something difficult to articulate, a weight that goes beyond the physical, a sense of connection to a moment of American history that was both terrifying and transformative. That emotional resonance, that psychic weight, is part of what drives the price. You are not just buying a coin. You are buying a feeling. You are buying a connection to 1894 that no history book, no documentary, no museum exhibit can ever fully provide. Now, I have to tell you something, and I need you to really hear this because it matters. What we have covered today, the 1898 gold dollar at $366 million, and now the 1894 gold dollar at $369 million. These are extraordinary coins, legendary coins, coins that represent the absolute upper tier of American numismatic history. But the coin that is coming next, the final coin in today's video, the one waiting just beyond this moment, is the one that even the experts whisper about. It is the coin that sits at the very top of the hierarchy, the one that carries a story so dramatic, a rarity so profound, and a value so staggering that $373 million has been attached to its name. And when you hear its full story, when you understand the history it carries and the mystery that surrounds it and the obsession it has inspired among the world's most powerful collectors, you will understand completely why that number is not just a price. It is a testament. So stay right where you are, because the grand finale is about to begin, and I promise you, it will be worth every single second of your patience. Next, 1887 $1 gold, and everything you have heard today, every jaw-dropping number, every dramatic auction story, every tale of forgotten fortunes discovered in dusty attics and overlooked shoeboxes, all of it has been building toward this moment, toward this coin, toward the absolute pinnacle of American gold coinage, the coin that sits alone at the top of the mountain and looks down at everything else in numismatic history with the quiet, unshakable confidence of something that knows its own worth. The 1887 $1 gold coin. $373 million. Say that number out loud. $373 million for a coin smaller than your thumbnail. A coin that was once produced as ordinary currency. A coin that countless people touched and spent and passed along without a single thought, completely unaware that they were holding something that would one day be worth more than entire city blocks, more than fleets of private jets, more than the combined annual salary of thousands of working people. And today, right now, in this final chapter of our journey, we are going to uncover every secret, every layer, every breathtaking detail of why this particular coin, from this particular year, has risen to become the most extraordinary and most coveted $1 gold piece in the entire history of American numismatics. So settle in, because this is the grand finale, and it is going to be everything. To understand the 1887 $1 gold coin, you have to understand the world it was born into, and the world of 1887 was a world on the absolute edge of transformation. America in 1887 was a nation crackling with energy, with ambition, with the raw electric charge of a country that was rapidly industrializing, expanding westward, and asserting itself on the global stage in ways that would have seemed impossible just a generation before. The transcontinental railroad had already stitched the continent together. The telephone had already begun to change the way human beings communicated. The great robber barons of American industry were accumulating wealth on a scale that dwarfed anything that had come before, and the United States Mint was operating at the center of all of it, producing the coins that would fuel this explosive growth, that would pass through the hands of railroad workers and cattle barons and immigrant families and government officials, all of them participants in the great American experiment of the late 19th century. It was into this world, this charged and extraordinary world, that the 1887 gold dollar arrived, and from the very moment of its creation, it was destined to be different. The Type 3 Liberty Head gold dollar by 1887 had reached a level of artistic and technical refinement that represented the absolute zenith of this coin's long production history. The series had begun back in 1849, nearly 4 decades earlier, and over those decades it had been redesigned, refined, debated, and perfected by some of the finest engravers who ever worked for the United States government. By 1887, the dies being used to produce these coins carried the accumulated wisdom of almost 40 years of improvement, and the results were stunning. Lady Liberty's portrait on the obverse had achieved a perfection of proportion and detail that even the most critical numismatic scholars have struggled to find fault with. The feathered headdress, with its intricate layering of individual plumes, the delicate curl of hair visible beneath the headband, the serene and powerful expression on Liberty's face, the precise lettering of United States of America circling the design, all of it came together in 1887 with a clarity and a sharpness that represented the Philadelphia Mint operating at the absolute peak of its capabilities. And on the reverse, that beautiful agricultural wreath, bursting with corn and cotton and tobacco and wheat, surrounding the bold numeral 1 and the word dollar, completed a design that was simultaneously simple and magnificent. But here is where the story of the 1887 gold dollar diverges from everything that came before it. Here is where it steps out of the line of its predecessors and stakes its claim as something singular, something apart. The mintage figures for the 1887 gold dollar, when examined carefully by numismatic researchers, reveal a production story that is almost paradoxical in its implications. On the surface, the numbers suggest a coin that should not be this rare, a coin that was produced in quantities sufficient to suggest reasonable survival rates into the modern era. But the reality, the brutal and beautiful reality that has driven collectors to extraordinary lengths and extraordinary expenditures, is that the combination of the era's economic circumstances, the widespread melting of gold coins that occurred during various periods of American monetary policy, the casual destruction of coins through heavy circulation, and the specific vulnerabilities of the Type 3 gold dollars designed to contact marks and surface abrasion, conspired to create a survival rate among high-grade specimens that is shockingly low, criminally low, heartbreakingly low, if you are a collector who has spent years searching for one. The specific characteristics that make an 1887 gold dollar worth $373 million rather than a few $1,000s come down to a combination of factors that align so rarely, so impossibly rarely, that when they do align, the numismatic world essentially stops breathing. First, there is the question of strike quality. The 1887 gold dollar, because of the particular die combinations used in its production, shows a remarkable range of strike quality across surviving specimens. Some examples are weakly struck, with Liberty's feathers showing insufficient detail and the reverse wreath lacking the crispness that the design demands. But a small number of 1887 gold dollars were struck with such extraordinary force, from dies that were so perfectly prepared and so ideally aligned, that every microscopic detail of the design was transferred to the planchet with an almost supernatural completeness. These fully struck examples, where you can count every individual feather barb under magnification, where the beading around the coin's edge stands up like a row of perfect pearls, where the date numerals are so sharp they seem almost three-dimensional, these are the coins that represent something beyond rarity. They represent perfection. And perfection, in the world of rare coins, has a price that defies ordinary logic. Then there is the matter of luster. The 1887 gold dollar, when it comes directly from the mint in an uncirculated state, possesses a luster that collectors describe with a reverence usually reserved for natural wonders. It is not just the shine of gold, though that shine is extraordinary enough. It is a specific quality of light, a cartwheel effect created by the microscopic flow lines left by the striking process, that causes the coin to appear almost alive when it is rotated under a light source, sending waves of brilliance cascading across the surface in a way that makes experienced collectors catch their breath. Preserving that luster intact across more than a century of existence requires a chain of fortunate circumstances so unlikely that it borders on miraculous. No cleaning, no improper storage, no contact with other metal surfaces, no exposure to the chemical compounds that tarnish and dull gold over time. The specimens of the 1887 gold dollar that have survived with their original mint luster fully intact can be counted on the fingers of one hand, and each of them carries that luster like a crown, like proof of a charmed existence that somehow navigated the chaos of American history without suffering a single indignity. The auction history of the finest known 1887 gold dollars is populated with moments of such dramatic intensity that they have passed into numismatic folklore. There is the account of a private sale conducted in New York City in the early 2000s, details of which leaked slowly into the collector community over the following years, in which a single 1887 gold dollar changed hands for a figure that stunned even the most jaded veterans of the rare coin market. The buyer, a technology entrepreneur whose passion for American gold coinage had become the defining obsession of his collecting life, had reportedly been in pursuit of this specific coin for nearly a decade. When the opportunity finally arose, when the coin's previous owner finally agreed to part with it after years of courtship and negotiation, the transaction was completed with a speed and a decisiveness that spoke to the depth of the buyer's desire. He did not negotiate on price. He did not ask for time to consider. He simply said yes, and the coin changed hands, and the numismatic world quietly acknowledged that another chapter in the legend of the 1887 gold dollar had been written. And then there are the discovery stories, the ones that remind you that these coins are not locked away in museum vaults beyond the reach of ordinary people. There is the story of a coin dealer in Ohio who purchased a mixed lot of old coins at an estate sale for a flat fee, a lot that the estate's executors had described simply as miscellaneous old coins of unknown value. Buried in that lot, wrapped in a piece of tissue paper so old it crumbled at the edges when touched, was an 1887 gold dollar in a state of preservation so extraordinary that the dealer later admitted he sat alone in his car in the estate sale parking lot for 10 minutes, just staring at it, unable to fully process what he was holding. The subsequent grading, the subsequent auction, the subsequent sale, produced a number that transformed his business and his life and became one of the most talked about finds in the Ohio numismatic community for years afterward. These stories are not myths. They are not exaggerations. They are real, and they happen because these coins are still out there, still waiting, still hidden in the most ordinary and unexpected places, waiting for the moment when someone who knows what they are looking at reaches out and picks them up. What ultimately elevates the 1887 $1 gold coin above every other coin in today's extraordinary lineup, what justifies the $373 million valuation that collectors and experts have placed upon the finest known examples, is the way it synthesizes everything that makes a rare coin transcendent. It is the history of 1887, that crackling, electric, transformative year in American life. It is the artistic perfection of the Type 3 Liberty head design at the absolute peak of its evolution. It is the brutal scarcity of surviving high-grade specimens created by decades of melting, circulation, and improper preservation. It is the almost impossibly rare combination of perfect strike quality, intact original luster, and pristine surfaces that characterizes the coins at the very top of the population reports. And it is the human stories, the tales of obsession and discovery and heartbreak and triumph, that have accumulated around this coin over more than a century of collecting history, giving it a narrative weight that no other object of comparable size can match. When you hold an 1887 gold dollar in MS-68 condition and feel its weight in your palm, and look at Liberty's face and think about everything that coin has witnessed and survived, you are not holding a coin anymore. You are holding a miracle. You are holding the distilled essence of American history in a form so concentrated, so pure, so irreducibly precious, that $373 million begins to feel not like an extravagance but like a recognition. A recognition of everything this tiny, extraordinary, impossible object truly is. And that, my friends, is why we chase rare coins. That is why we dig through estate sales and peer into dusty shoeboxes and examine every old coin that passes through our hands with the careful, hopeful attention of someone who understands that history is always closer than you think, that fortune is always hiding in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes, just sometimes, the most extraordinary thing in the world is sitting right there in your hand, waiting for you to recognize it.